If I were to tell you that I could taste one glass of wine out of 40 glasses of wine that I'd never seen before that someone else had poured, and I could tell you the name of the grape, the area where it was grown, and the year it was produced even, as well as what type of wine it was, would you believe me? Well, heck no, you wouldn't believe me because I have no expertise in that area. Plus, after 2 sips, I'd be on the floor. I'm Marcy McDonald, the online course doctor, here to help you improve your online courses 1 tip at a time. So today that tip is great opens make the difference in whether people keep watching you and whether they believe you. So let's get started. I've worked with Jennifer Simonetti-Bryan for years. She's an ongoing client of mine. We worked together first on a course called The Everyday Guide to Wine, produced by The Great Courses. We had a challenge with this course because nobody in our audience really knew or understood what a master of wine does or how hard it was to get those credentials. So we created an open for the course that would, we hoped, knock people's socks off, but also at the same time establish her credibility and authority in this area with no doubts whatsoever on the audience's part for why they should trust her for the journey they were about to take with her. What did we do? We set out those 40 glasses of wine, and Jennifer had no idea what we put in any of the glasses. We had her on screen as we recorded her live, pick one glass at random, and she indeed was able to tell us grape, variety, where it was grown, what year it was grown, and the type of wine. It blew everyone away, and in less than 30 seconds, we all believed that she could take us on a journey through the Everyday Guide to Wine, where we would end up being able to understand how to taste wine, not as well as she could, but to a much greater degree than we would have without her. So what is a great opening all about? First, it grabs your attention. Second, it makes us want to know more. Third, it promises that we're going to learn something we couldn't learn without this particular expert guiding us. Fourth, it makes us want to work with that expert because he or she has grabbed our attention in a way that's memorable, engaging, and convincing that that person is really the best person for us to learn from. So let's look at 5 of my favorite ways to grab people's attention and establish credibility right off the top of a course. So first, as I've just discussed, is a demonstration. If you can do something, show something, use props, in some way prove to us that you know something that we really badly want to know, and you can do that through a demonstration, like tasting 1 glass of wine out of 40 and identifying all its contents, that is incredible. That is really one of my favorite openings. A demo can be hard to do, however. So my second favorite way is to start with a story, and that's what I did in this vlog. I started with the story of Jennifer Simonetti-Bryan and how we created a very visual, very interactive kind of opening. So that's a story. There are many, many kinds of stories. Here's a third way that I like, and that's to use a story, but set it up as a frame. So you start with the story, but you don't end the story. You just tell the beginning of the story, and then you use the information in that lesson to fill in what we need to know in order to understand how a case study was resolved or how a mystery was solved. So for instance, say you're teaching something about health, you might present us with a case study about a client you worked with who, once she had learned everything you had to tell her, was able to resolve some big problems that no one else had been able to diagnose. That's an example of a story presented within a frame, so the viewer wants to get from here to here, and they can only do that if they stay on board with you. So another kind of open that has legs to it is called a juicy tidbit. Now, a juicy tidbit is something I've mentioned before because I love them. I mean, think of your favorite food and how it makes your mouth water. Well, that's what I think of as a juicy tidbit. A juicy tidbit is any delicious point that is tied to your subject and makes us think about it or see it in a very different way because we'd never heard this incredible fact before. So here's an example of a juicy tidbit. Did you know that there is an organization that has figured out how to create water from fog? And this organization has set up this fog collecting machine in Peru, and it's worked so effectively that an entire village that used to have no water for themselves, they used to have to travel to get water, there was no water pumped there, they now have all their water needs met because of this fog collecting system. Wow. Well, that's an amazing tidbit, right? That's something you'd want to go out and tell someone else. And the very fact that you knew it makes people think, wow, this person has some interesting stuff for me to learn from and learn about. So I want to keep watching. So the last point is like a juicy tidbit, but I think of it more as a startling fact. And this fact would be something that really does directly pertain to what it is you're teaching, and it would help give perspective on it or help connect the dots, you know, what happens here with what happens there. But it's also, like the juicy tidbit, is something that most people don't know. So here's one I heard recently. It would take 2,500 years to count every star in the Milky Way if you could count one per second. That's a pretty amazing fact. It makes you think. And there are many courses that I can think of where you might use a fact like that to get perspective. You could use it to get perspective on numbers or on counting or on the galaxy or on our significance on the Earth, comparing ourselves to the number of stars in the Milky Way. Any of those would help us as the audience say, gosh, tell me more. You're an interesting, fascinating person. And you know what? I can't wait to go tell that to someone else, which is what happened to me. When I heard it, I wrote it down so that I could share it with you. So those are the ways that you can give insight, give perspective, and gain credibility all in one fell swoop at the beginning of your courses so that you knock people's socks off. And there you go. Suddenly we've got a course that opens in a way that people want to keep watching because, hey, if you're that good just in the beginning, think of how good it's going to be all the way through. So this is Marcy McDonald, online course doctor, helping you heal your online courses so that they are frickin' amazing. Thanks. Bye.